It was the news of the week. Heck, it was the news of the year. Who am I kidding? It might be the news of the decade. Nick Saban, aka Nick Satan, as we call him here on the OHIO podcast, decided to retire and move down to sunny Florida to spend out the remaining parts of his days, as far as we know, working on that nice little tan that he has, leaving the Alabama football program in what appears to be flux, or so we thought, until Alabama went out and got in my opinion, maybe one of the best hires out there in college football in Kalen DeBoer. I think he's a tremendously good coach and might save this program from falling under. That being said, how does this affect Ohio State moving forward? Well, first off and foremost, and what everybody thought when they saw the news come across the ticker, wherever you were watching news, whether that be on television, whether that be on Facebook, whether that be on YouTube, X, if you're not an Alabama fan, you were excited. You were happy. Finally, the guy who has ran probably the most successful college football program in the history of all college football has finally retired. If you're an Alabama fan, you were stupefied. You were shocked. You were horrored at the possibility of facing 2024 without the main man. And if you're watching this video and you're a fan of that team up north, no, you did not break Alabama. Okay? So just stop it. That being said, how does this affect Ohio State? Well, I don't think it's going to affect Ohio State too much. I do know that Ohio State and Alabama play a home and home series coming up in a few years, and now Nick Saban won't be there. And although they will play Washington before that as a member of the Big Ten Conference now, Kalen DeBoer will not be roaming the sideline in Washington. So we'll have to follow that situation a little bit more closely because that'll affect Ohio State a little bit more, I believe, than the fact that he now heads down to Tuscaloosa. But as the news broke out, there was this belief that the roster from Alabama was going to be picked over like a carcass in the hot summer sun while a bunch of vultures come flying in to devour the remains of what was Alabama and the giant elephant in college football. Not so fast, my friends, as the great Lee Corso used to say on game day, and still does, at least for this past season. Because I don't know that we're going to see the great exodus from the Alabama program like we thought we were going to see. Obviously, Caleb Downs is the name that a lot of Ohio State fans wanted to see jump in the portal, move from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, head on up north to Columbus, Ohio, because that was the big recruit we lost in the last cycle, in the 2022 cycle, to Nick Saban and Alabama. Caleb Downs, a 6 foot, 203-pound safety, was a top 10 recruit in the country. And this past season, this young man had a phenomenal year as a true freshman in the SEC. 107 total tackles, 70 of which were solo. He had a forced fumble, one fumble recovery, and two interceptions, three pass deflections this past year. Those are fantastic statistics, whether they're from a freshman or a senior for that matter. And yet he was just an 18-year-old freshman in what is the toughest conference in college football. So that being said, if he were to jump in the portal, this would be a tremendous opportunity for Ohio State to add to their already great roster, as they've had just an amazing amount of juniors come back for their senior season, thanks in large part to NIL and collectives and things of that nature, as well as the idea that they're going to make a run at the national championship together. Having Caleb Downs a part of that will be huge and will obviously boost those the potential for Ohio State to do exactly that. However, he's not jumped in the portal yet. And although there's been a ton of speculation from a lot of different podcasts and prognosticators and predictors out there thinking that Caleb Downs was going to be all but a Buckeye until he's in the portal and until he makes an official visit to Columbus, Ohio. I still think that Kalen DeBoer has the opportunity to win over that roster, including Caleb Downs, keeping him in Alabama for the foreseeable future. So, how does this affect Ohio State? Well, we will not see Nick Saban in the horseshoe again. Last time he was there, he was the coach of Michigan State, and that didn't go so well for us back in the 90s. We've seen him in bowl games, but we've never seen him roaming the sideline as a visitor for Alabama. We were all looking forward to that. That's not going to happen. How this affects the Washington program, we'll see if they take a giant step back. They've had a lot of guys jump in the portal since this announcement happened. I already thought Washington's roster was going to take a little bit of a step back in 2024. Looks like they're going to take a giant step back in 2024. We'll see who they get and how they respond and how that team is going to be constructed moving forward for the 2024 season. But I do not think the Huskies are going to be much of a threat in the Big Ten next year now. And of course, like I said, Caleb Downs. Will he jump in the portal? Can DeBoer keep him on the roster? If so, then it's not going to be much of an effect for Ohio State outside of the fact that we might see Alabama in the college football playoff down the road. Do I believe Alabama is going to take a step back? That's what everybody's talking about right now. Of course, they're going to take a little bit of a step back. That's whenever you have a legendary coach like that retire, one of the greatest coaches in college football, if not the greatest coach in college football history, of course there's going to be a step back. How big of a step back is that going to be? I think that it's a little bit of a return to the meme. I still think that they're going to be an upper echelon SEC team. I still think that they're going to battle with LSU. I still think they're going to battle with Georgia for SEC prominence. However, I just don't think that they are the team to beat anymore. I think that is going to be Georgia. I think the Bulldogs are going to be the SEC team to beat moving forward. I think this helps other SEC schools, especially when it comes to recruiting. Teams like Tennessee, Florida, LSU, like I mentioned, Auburn, of course. All of these guys might be able to take a slight step forward in recruiting as they compete with Alabama for the top guys in the South. So, all of those things considered, um, how does it affect Ohio State? It helps us, I think, in the big picture overall nationally, and maybe a little bit, and maybe a little bit in recruiting, slightly. If Caleb Downs doesn't come, then I don't think there's going to be much of an effect at all. But we'll see. If he jumps in the portal, I think he's going to be a Buckeye. I think we snag him from the portal, and we're able to get him to be a part of the Scarlet and Gray in 2024. What kind of percentage I put on that? I'll give it about a 25% chance. How about that? I just don't think it's as much as a lot of people thought right away when the news broke that Nick Saban was going to retire. Okay. We have a big guest coming up on our live show this Sunday, 8 o'clock Eastern. That's tomorrow. You're not going to want to miss that. Sunday, 8 o'clock Eastern. Master Teague III, former running back for Ohio State, will be in the house with us. Looking forward to that interview. Make sure you're a part of that. Be in the chat. Get your question asked and answered from Master Teague III. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We're so close. I think we're 26 subscribers away from 1,000. So we definitely want you to be a part of that as well and be a part of the community that we're building here on the OHIO podcast. But for now, like this video, share it. Let's celebrate the fact that no longer Nick Saban is in college football, dominating every single discussion when it comes to the college football playoff. And with 12 teams, he wasn't going to do that anymore, anyways. And I have a feeling that some of the changes that have come in college football with NIL, the transfer portal, etc., some of these things irritate some of these older coaches, and they're just not worth it, the trouble anymore. He's 72 years old. Go enjoy the remaining years of your life. You've earned it. You're the greatest college football coach of all time. Like I said, if not the greatest one of them, you've already got a statue outside there at the university that your fans were bringing gifts and laying flowers at your feet like you had passed or something already, even though all you'd done was retired. Thought that was a little crazy. But that's what Alabama fans are. They're crazy, and so we understand that. We're Buckeye fans. We're Buck nuts. It's a cult, man. It's part of the religion. So please like, share, subscribe. We really do appreciate that. Let's get to 1,000 subscribers. We'll see y'all tomorrow on the live show, 8 o'clock Eastern. Master Teague the Third. Until then, go Bucks.